All right, National College Football Roundup. Michigan has self-imposed a 3-game suspension for Jim Harbaugh to start the season. Reminder, Michigan had thought they'd come to an agreement on a 4-game suspension to start this season with the NCAA, but the NCAA Committee of Infractions said, nope, we don't accept that. So the only way I can interpret this, Ted, is that Michigan is making a peace offering to the NCAA, right? Because when the Committee on Infractions said, nope, we don't accept that, that can only be interpreted as they wanted the suspension to be longer than 4 games for Harbaugh. So this is Michigan saying, hey, please take it easy on him. I just don't trust the NCAA at all. I don't know why Michigan trusts him. Now, maybe there's been some behind closed door conversations, but NCAA doesn't have much power anymore, man. And this is their opportunity to flex some muscle, right? I don't know why Michigan is trusting them. I don't get it. I really don't.
I don't either. You absolutely cannot trust the NCAA at all. We know that. We've seen that. You can go along with everything that they ask you to do, and they will absolutely hammer you. And then you can disagree with them the entire way, and they will let you off the hook. Like, there is no consistency across the board at all with how the treatment takes place. This whole situation is weird. I guess it's hard. I don't even have a full understanding of what the infraction is, and it's enough to where Jim Harbaugh in the beginning was scoffing at the notion that even an infraction had taken place. So I don't know. I mean, if he does the 3-game suspension, self-imposed, and they try and drop the hammer next year after they look at this thing, I have a feeling either Michigan or Harbaugh or both are going to flip the double birds to the NCAA in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. I would anticipate, if the NCAA still tries to hammer him, that there's going to be some type of substantial lawsuit, right? And that ultimately the lawyers will win in all of this. Billable hours, baby. But when you look at the effect this has on Michigan this season, not much of one, right? Now he gets to do everything. Harbaugh gets to do everything during his suspension except for coach on game day against East Carolina, UNLV, and Bowling Green. So it really isn't like he doesn't have to be away from the facility. He just can't be coaching on game day. So that's not even much of a suspension to me. Like in the NFL, if you're suspended, you can't be around, right? Like you can't show up.
Well, I thought I read that he can't be anywhere on campus. Is that not true? He could be
from
he'd be
what
at the
I read,
facility and stuff.
From what I read, he can like do everything except for on Saturdays. Now,
Right.
maybe.
Well, I was just wondering because like recruiting and stuff like those, like that would be the biggest thing is if he's missing out on those game day recruiting trips uh, for players they're taking official visits for games because like really he could take the 5-game suspension. I think like they've got the 3 cupcakes and then I think they've got Rutgers and Indiana as like their first 5 games, isn't it?
Yeah. And I don't know if it's going to have any effect on Michigan. One thing I think it may do is, and I would not be surprised if Harbaugh frames it this way at all, be like, hey, people are out to get us, boys. Like almost like galvanize the team,
Yep.
right? Bring them together. Like, hey, we've tasted some success these last couple years. Now people are out to get us. We got the target on our back. They're coming after me. And I don't know how that would play in the locker room, but hey, coaches will use whatever they can use to brainwash their kids, right? I mean, that's just how it works.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's no secret to anyone, guys. Come on, guys. We beat Ohio State 2 years in a row, and what do you know? A hamburger pops up, right? And they're trying to take your coach away. That's how things go. Yeah, he'll use it. He'll use it as motivation.
Yeah. Now, and not to get too far into the future, but if the NCAA decides it's 5 games or more, right, you would assume they would count the 3 games, right, of this self-imposed suspension this year. They've got Texas in week 2 next season. I mean, it would be so on brand for the NCAA to make the biggest non-conference game in the sport next year about them, right? About them suspending Jim Harbaugh and not allow us to just focus on how much fun of a football game that is going to be. That would be so on brand. I cannot wait. It's going to be the NCAA. I know they're going to do it already. They're going to do it, and it's going to be miserable because I'm going to have to talk about that instead of talking about the matchup, and it's going to be exhausting.
Yeah, it would be on brand for the NCAA to suspend Harbaugh for that game because he did something maybe outside of a time frame. But, you know, Arch Manning's probably going to start that game, and Texas told everyone that they spent like $400,000 on his recruiting weekend. Isn't that what it was? Some crazy, some huge number like that. And the old hamburger purchases, nope, not around here, buddy. Can't do it.
Yeah. That I know it's going to come, and I'm already dreading it. That's going to be an exhausting lead up to that game. But I will say the self-imposed suspension for Michigan here, it does make me think Harbaugh's sticking around Michigan for a long time now, right? Because, you know, when this all came about, it was, oh, will they tell the NCAA to get lost? And, you know, it'll all come down next year and Harbaugh will be on to the NFL. It seems like them getting what they hope is a piece of this suspension out of the way now is them trying to break it up over 2 seasons because they fully anticipate Harbaugh being the head coach at Michigan next season. Or at least that's, I may be reaching with that interpretation, but that's kind of how I see it, Ted.
Yeah. And that may be the case. You know, it's also interesting I wish I could be a fly on the wall there during some of the board meetings with the athletic director, because it's been documented that pretty much everywhere Harbaugh has gone, he's been a pain in the ass for people to deal with. Right. The front office, like whatever, it's like whatever he's gone, everyone's like, thank you. So I wonder if there's, which, you know, they obviously want to keep him, but I just wonder like what the feeling is. Had he been up front, are they mad that he was so defiant in the very beginning? Could this whole thing have been handled very easily and without much damage had he handled it differently from the beginning? That's what I want to know.
Yeah. Would anyone other than Jim Harbaugh be getting this suspension?
Right.
Right.
Yes.
Just because he is the way he is.
Right.
Yeah, that is that's a good way of looking at it. But yeah, we'll see if this has any effect this season for the Wolverines. But yeah, an interesting decision from the leadership there at Michigan. All right. We've got games this weekend, man.
I know it.
We've got games week 0, a couple that are sort of interesting. Let's start here. Navy versus number 13 Notre Dame in Dublin. Notre Dame currently a 20.5-point favorite. Now remember last year, Navy gave the Irish a scare. Man, what was that, a 3-point game? And who knows? Maybe the old Golden Domers will enjoy the Dublin nightlife a little too much throughout the week, and this thing could be a little interesting. You never know. But looking at that game, I think the most interesting thing is how is Sam Hartman going to look at quarterback for them? Right? He was in such a unique system at Wake. I'm interested to see what he looks like, and I will say, that is one handsome dude, man. I don't know if you saw the pictures going around Twitter of him in the Notre Dame practice jersey. He's got the beard going. that is one marketable guy that Notre Dame has at quarterback right now.
Well, I'm interested to see what they do offensively. I kind of expect the same Notre Dame that we typically see, right? Solid defensively, good on the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, but tend to struggle with explosive offensive plays. Um, I maybe I think having Hartman there at quarterback, depending on what he brings, he might be one of the better options that they've had at quarterback in a while, right?
Yeah.
For an explosive offense. They've been pretty limited at quarterback. They've had a couple of guys, but it's been a long time since Notre Dame had what you would consider to be an elite quarterback. And I don't know necessarily that Hartman fits that, but he might. And that's what they're going to have to need. If they really want to go compete on the big stage, they have to be better at quarterback than they've been.
Yeah. And I think they feel pretty good about their wide receiver core being a little more explosive this season. But the question is, if Hartman does play, let's say at a elite college level, what does that do for that group? Like, how can he elevate them, right, and help them along? And have they had a guy like that recently? I don't know, but that's why I'm interested in watching the game. Navy's defense gave them a lot of trouble a season ago, right, with some of the pressure that they were bringing and, some of the issues Notre Dame had with that pressure. But new look for Navy, new head coach, right? Ken Niumatalolo's out. Brian Newberry, who was the defensive coordinator, right, has been promoted to head coach. So you got a new guy calling the shots at Navy. I've been reading about some of the offense that they're planning on running. I guess it's not just, there's going to be a big piece that is the traditional under center run the triple, right, like they have in the past. But sounds like they're going to get in the shotgun a little more. They're going to change some formations up. The passing game, the passing attack has been expanded. So I typically hate watching a triple option team. I'm going to be fully transparent, but I am pretty interested to see how different it looks offensively for Navy. And I think Marcus Freeman and that Notre Dame staff, they're going to have to do some guessing as to what it's going to look like. So I think that's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, it is. Whenever you play an option team early in the year, I feel like it's a big help than having it buried in the regular season somewhere, because it's so different the way you have to defend them compared to everything else. Like almost every other offense in the country these days is the same. They may specialize on a couple of different things, but everyone generally runs pretty much the same stuff now, except for triple option teams. So there's no carryover week to week to defending them. But if you get them early in the season, you should, because you can sprinkle all of that in throughout training camp to get some work on it. So by the time game week rolls around, it's not something new and totally foreign to you. Should be pretty locked in for it.
One thing to watch in that game, right? And you're only going to get this type of hard hitting analysis on the Oklahoma Breakdown. Keep an eye on the grass. Just keep an eye on the grass. Keep an eye on footing in that game. Played in the London game, and I know that London's not in Ireland, but been to Dublin as well. Been out there on the field in Croke Park, believe it or not, before. It's shit. It's not American grass, man. I'm just saying it chews up easy.
What is it?
I don't have the grass knowledge
though?
you have. I don't have the grass knowledge you have. I don't know. I'm not educated on the grasses. They don't have the fancy grass that OU's got. I know that. It tears up like there's a lot of slipping going on.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, right? Because if you're playing an option team at home, like if they were playing at Notre Dame, they'd have that damn fescue or whatever that playing surface is, like up around your ankles whenever you're trying to run around on it. I feel like that's probably mowed really low, like a soccer pitch, I would guess, but I don't know. But you're
Yeah.
right. They typically, we see it get chewed up quite a bit over there.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see how the pitch at Aviva Stadium holds up there in Dublin. Just keep an eye on it. That's all I'm saying. All right, one more game in week 0 that is interesting. It's going to be a blowout, but San Jose State travels to take on number 6 USC. The Trojans are a 31-point favorite currently. Now, we're not going to learn much about USC in this game, right? But Caleb Williams is going to be back on the field with all those offensive weapons, including Dorian Singer. Remember, transferred over from Arizona, got a couple transfer linemen that seem to be like they're going to be starters for him. So we'll see how those new pieces look offensively. But Ted, all the focus is going to be on the defense, right?
That's right. Yeah. And I'm curious to see, because they've made it a point to live in the transfer portal, and a lot of it is out of necessity. I think another part of it is like just choice, but they've done well. They've gotten some good players there. Let's see if they can pull it all together. They got the transfer from Georgia, Bear Alexander. From what I've heard, whenever he turns it on and he shows up, there's flashes of being a really good player, but how often can you get him to turn it on, I think, is going to be the question there. I'll tell you what I'm most excited about. I was talking to Odom, the linebacker coach out there. He's starting true freshman Tackett Curtis at Mike linebacker. And I'm just this kid is an absolute killer. He's going to be a true freshman out there, so he'll be a little bit lost, but I guarantee he will light someone up out there. He's going to be a tremendous player, and I'm curious to see how he looks as a true freshman out there getting the start. I'm sure that's pretty rare at USC. I mean, they've had some incredible linebackers come through that program, so anxious to see kind of what he does.
Yeah. I can already tell you've got, if you're looking at your freshman crush around the country, I think Tackett Curtis is your guy.
Well, he has been all for like a year and a half, or maybe even further back. Whenever I saw his high school highlights, I could not believe what I was witnessing. It should have been illegal. I've never seen anything like it in my entire life. It's crazy.
He does. It's a heck of a highlight tape. But you mentioned all the transfers, right? Bear Alexander, Keon Bars, Anthony Lucas, Jamil Muhammad, like their defensive front, they got transfers everywhere. So we'll see how it comes together. And just be real, when you think about coordinators that are under pressure, right, under the most pressure in college football this season, Alex Grinch is high on that list. I just don't think there's any denying that. And you probably got, Brian Ferentz at Iowa's up there as well. But yeah, Grinch he's under the microscope this season. There's no doubt about it. So we'll see how that defense looks against San Jose State. But yeah, we'll all be watching, right? It's really the only, they're the best team playing this weekend. I know a lot of people that listen to this podcast feel a certain way about USC, but I think we'll all take a glance at that game, right?
As long as you can locate the Pac-12 network on whatever your cable provider is. I don't even know if I have it.
I know I have it, but I don't even think about that. Good luck finding the game, ladies and gentlemen.